Hello, everyone. Welcome to one of the Intel FutureGen broadcasts, where we aim to give students an insight into the esports industry and give you the opportunity to learn from experts and leaders in the esports world. I'm Becky. I'm the social media and community manager at NSE. And today we have Nathan from Excel, who's going to talk to you all about social media and the thing he's learned along the way through his career. So over to you, Nathan. Thanks for joining
Hi,
us
thanks,
today.
Becky. Thank you. I'm just going to shut my door before it's Piccadilly Station because my mom's just sent home, and then the dog's going to go mental. So let's just sort out that first. But no, I appreciate everyone being here, getting to listen to me waffle. I guess a little bit about social media and esports. It's definitely my passion. It's definitely what I love to do. So I guess we'll just jump straight into it with a little bit of an intro about myself, like how I got into the esports space and stuff like that. So I'm 21, based in the UK, obviously social media manager for Excel Esports, one of the leading UK esports organizations. Interested in everything digital marketing, to be honest. So it's not just social media. I kind of have a background with PPC, SEO, which is search engine optimization, and pay-per-click, so like paid advertising and stuff like that. Obviously a huge passion for the esports industry. I know that's a very overused saying, but I truly do love it. It's my hobby, and sometimes we'll talk about it a little bit later. I find it hard to escape, I guess, my job because my hobby's in the same industry as where I work, but we'll touch on it a little bit later. And also I threw in there, I own the most gorgeous dog ever. She was in the background, but she's just hopped out. And also another funny thing where you can see on the screen is she won BT Dogger of the Year, which was like a cool activation we did with our head partner at Excel, for like BT Power Better Awards, and she won that, as she should. So how did I get involved in the space? I mean, it starts way back when I started playing Call of Duty. I tried to make some kind of competitive career around it, and it failed miserably. I definitely wasn't the best Call of Duty player. But in 2014, I got my first PC. I think for Christmas. It wasn't too powerful at all. I was using Movie Maker to like edit videos and upload on my YouTube channel, which was Unique Gaming, I think it was called. It was a clan that I started with friends, and our names were like Unique, and our initials, and mine was Unique Any for Nathan Edmonds. So that was when my first kind of taste of like I wanted to do something, but I wanted a little bit more from the competitive side. Hence created Radiant Esports in 2015 when I was only 15 years old. Like it wasn't really legitimate business until I guess 2017 when I was able to register as a business, but it was still like a clan with teams, had multiple different Call of Duty competitive teams, and I kind of learned a few things along the way early doors, about leadership, but a little bit more about marketing down the later years. And then in 2018, after I guess experience with a couple volunteer roles in esports, and especially Radiant being like the top of my CV, owning my own organization and saying, look, I've taken it to these places, and like Denver, for example, HS Denver in America, Las Vegas, and we've got sponsors, and we get these amount of numbers of impressions per month. Like it's quite impressive, I guess, to some companies, that I was managed to kind of do that and create that. So that got me a job at Esports Insider, which I was super thankful for. It's my first paid role ever in esports, and I can't thank Sam Cook, the MD enough, for giving me that opportunity. It gave me the opportunity to also quit my apprenticeship. So I was no longer on £3 or whatever it was an hour, and I finally went on to some kind of a decent wage. But that really gave me the opportunity, okay, so work from home, start doing a little bit more freelance work, and take this a little bit more seriously. So over the next kind of year and a half, I did freelance work for companies. I guess the most notable I've written down is X Gamer Energy, which is like an energy drink brand. House of Gamers, which had a short stint in kind of near central Birmingham, where they had their own like PC bar, kind of where you have to come pay to play games and all stuff like that. And we did a cool activation with them that I'll touch on next. Jinx TV, I wrote an article on there. I did a couple of articles for Esports Insider too. I'm no journalist, and I definitely don't want to return to them days, but it was something that I also learned. And then in 2019, I had the opportunity to join Gfinity and run their social media channels. So this was all by myself, and I managed to triple the numbers. And from when I joined to from when I left, the number like the best month was kept increasing. That's a really bad way to word it. I kept breaking the record-breaking month, basically, which was a decent achievement for me. And then in February, Kieran, the co-founder of Excel, reached out and kind of said, send me your CV out of the blue. And I was like, oh, okay, don't know what this is too much about. I sent it over. I got an email basically saying, look, our current social media manager is leaving. We need someone to fill in for the next 3 months. Are you interested, basically? And then boom, the story goes from there. I've got a little bit more like visuals, I guess, from my time in esports. So the top far left is the first montage I edited. It's awful. It's unlisted, so you won't be able to find it. 400 views, 18 likes, four dislikes. Like it's not bad, but it was basically my friends sending in clips and me using my, I want to say Elgato, I think it was, early days, to record the clips, edit them up in Movie Maker, proper Movie Maker transitions, awful music. It's terrible, but back then it was a pretty proud achievement. And we uploaded that, and we also did various other content like annoying people in gun games, stuff like that. To the right of that is obviously Raiden, my little baby that I started in 2015. To the right of the logo, which is also the House of Gamers logo, is an activation we did. Probably one of my proudest achievements, I think, was a 13-day live stream, non-stop live stream, 2 pretty big sponsors, loads of other media partners that helped support us, Hitmarket, UK Esports News, stuff like that. And we raised over 4,000 for charity. Other things to note were like we had 30 plus people come down to the event, and with the sponsor money we were able to like rent out an area and pay for their travel to make sure that they could cover that and do short stints in the live stream. But it was over, I want to say, like 300 plus hours of live streaming. One day it did the whole street electricity went out, which you can write it, so we weren't actually able to break the record, but it was a super fun achievement. We raised a lot of money for a children's charity called Mad Hatters, which was local to Birmingham. We had the BBC come stop by and like get kind of recording and stuff like that, so it was super fun. Definitely one of my proudest achievements. To the right, it's just some articles that I wrote for Esports Insider, nothing too big. Bottom left was my first ever business event for Esports Insider. It was in I can't remember the actual venue for some reason, but the after party, which was really cool, was at the History Museum, which was pretty sick. In the middle is quite funny. I had to throw it in there. Is when Radiant beat XL Esports 2-1 at HCS Denver for a Halo tournament. It's just ironic because that was, I want to say, 2018, and little did I know, 2 years down the line, I'd be joining XL and working full time. And then far right is from March 2020, when I moved down to London, started working for XL, and got featured in their like weekly vlog, and kind of got introduced to the community. But then 2 weeks later, COVID happened, and then had to move all the way back, and I'm still at home since that point, unfortunately. So that's a little bit about, I guess, how I got involved. Now it's a little bit more interesting, I guess, the day in the life of a social media manager. And what I haven't put here, which is should be super clear, is that it's ever evolving. The day's never the same. It changes each day, each week, each month. Like right now, when I first started the role, it was definitely a lot more focused on populating social channels and creating content. Now it's a little bit more kind of strategy, and I don't have too much time to populate the social channels at all. However, we are recruiting for a social media manager, so we look forward to. Well, I definitely look forward to the new person coming on board and helping support it, like in this kind of angle. But I've kind of listed down a few roles that I do currently. This is definitely not, I just want to make clear, not what all social media managers do, or maybe social media managers do more or do less. This is just I guess from my experience. The fun thing about esports, like, is that you're expected to do a lot of things in certain different roles that may not specifically stick to your criteria, which is good. It's definitely an advantage. Like you learn if you're more of a learner and you're interested in learning different things outside your role, then like it's super interesting. But sometimes it can get a little bit overwhelming, which I kind of touch on in the next slide. But to touch on, I guess, some of the main like roles, responsibilities, populating all social channels, like that's definitely one of the obvious ones. You're a social media manager, and at the end of the day, you're supposed to be posting on the social media channels and keeping content flowing over there. Creating content, especially too, you should have some kind of like really basic experience within Photoshop or Premiere Pro, and actually creating memes or creating short videos or edits, whatever it is. Super simple stuff. Like you're not expected to be, a graphic designer or some absolutely insane editor, but them skills are really valued. Community management. So I've wrote this down. Some roles it's definitely looked at as a little bit more of a specific role, which is good, because community management should definitely be a role by itself to manage the community. But there's kind of two aspects to it, right? There's the more of the social media side and engaging with the community there, which I think, again, the social media manager should be doing. But there's also another side, which is Discord, a really big asset in esports that is used by most esports organizations and overlooked by a few, to be honest, where you have your community there directly. You get to communicate with them a little bit more on a personal level than you do, let's say, on Twitter or Instagram. So a community manager tends to fit the role in esports, really looking after a Discord server and making sure, whether that's fun activations or fun ways to implement partners or whatever it is, but keeping the community engaged on Discord and speaking to them directly, giving the brand a little bit more of a face, I think. Copywriting is a big one. So copywriting just really means just typing up any type, whether that's a tweet, whether that's a website article, whether that's a description for a product on the website. So this is something that is a really broad stretch. So like if we're just talking specifically about the social media manager, what you'd be expected to do is copywriting when it comes to social posts, right? And typing them out and making them word right. And it will come onto it a little bit with the create the tone of voice and brand guidelines and making sure it's aligned with stuff like that. But copywriting, I guess, in my role also specify, gotta figure my words out, also includes the website products. So all our website products, their description is kind of altered to fit our kind of brand voice. And it's best to come from the social media manager usually, because you're the one engaging with the fans and you're the one speaking to the fans every single day. So you know best how to speak and how the fans will engage with your kind of lingo, I guess. Action partner deliverables is another one, a quite important one. So obviously esports organizations have a wide variety of partners that usually have very specific deliverables, whether that's 3 player posts or 3 social media posts over the next 2 months, whatever it is. It's kind of your plan to create plans for that and make sure it's actioned and make sure obviously the partner's getting the worth, and kind of speaking and working with the partnerships team to kind of get workarounds of, okay, how can we deliver it in an authentic way, but also make sure that the partner's getting the benefit they want, whether that's a call to action to buy, let's say Sony, for example, want to sell their new Sony phone, the new Sony gaming phone, or whether that's BT that want to just interact with it with the UK community, right? It's a little bit different for each social media manager, each partner. Another one is supporting player socials. So sometimes you won't be expected to do a lot. Maybe it sometimes sits under the role of the lead social media manager, or the head of social, but supporting players is kind of just really supporting them with partner deliverables. So if there is a player post, supporting them with that, helping them with copy, kind of speaking in their tone of voice and kind of meeting them on a middle point there. So it does, again, look authentic. That's one of the most important things about social media management, is making sure it comes across authentic and not as just an outright ad and an outright sell. But also supporting them with content ideas. Look, not every pro player, not every content creator is like natural with social media and natural with posting and natural with populating content. So they usually appreciate some kind of help on that side. Stakeholder management is pretty important. To give context, stakeholder management is really just your communication, whether that's external or internal. So internal stakeholders would be, let's say, the CEO or an investor or a player or a head of a department, whatever it is. An external stakeholder would be a partner, let's say, for example. So for my job, it's really just communicating plans and communicating strategies and communicating data reports as well, which we'll touch on a little bit more. It's sometimes the boring side of it. But also another big one is promotional plans. Like if we're announcing a new player and a new partner, anything that's big, soon to be promoted on social channels, it's expected from the social media manager to create a promotional plan for that. Whether that's it usually includes the seeding stage, which is the start, before the announcement. Like, what are we going to do to tease it? Are we going to hype it up? Are we going to announce like the date when it's coming out? And then the second part is launch day. Like, what's going to happen on launch day? What needs to be changed? So headers need to be changed, updated. All the player headers need to be changed. The players need to do a tweet on the day, all stuff like that. And then after, okay, how do we keep the momentum going right now? So if we announce let's say we enter a new esports, CSGO, for example, how do we keep the momentum going and keep the CSGO community engaged, right? Paid media strategy. This is sometimes expected, sometimes not. This is something I do just because I have a little bit of experience from it before social media management, is paid media strategy. So it's mainly what I do at Excel is AdWords, which is kind of Google AdWords, which is mainly YouTube videos and pumping a little bit of money behind our YouTube videos and kind of hopefully generating I guess viewers that enjoy our content and therefore then subscribe. But it's also paid media strategy when it comes to, I guess, social posts, if we ever do stuff like that. But I tend to not touch the e-commerce side of thing. That's done by a different department. So talking to partners about social strategy, this is kind of a new thing for me coming up soon, which is okay, let's say we're getting a new partner on board, getting kind of a brief introduction with them before they come on board, kind of explaining kind of our ethos and what we do on socials and how we voice on socials and how we talk, just so they kind of understand, okay, this is how Excel is, and how can we position ourselves best to get the most value. And not only that, it's our idea. Okay, how can, so let's say HyperX come to us and say they want to approach a certain way with educational content. Then how do we best strategize that on our social channels and best amplify that, whilst also again keeping in mind making it authentic, but also speaking in our tone of voice. So I touched on a little bit earlier, but creating reports and collating data is definitely it can be a fun job, or it can be a super boring job, but it's definitely necessary. It's definitely a big part of my job, especially at the end of each quarter, at the end of each month, kind of collating each social channel and going, okay, we got this amount of impressions or this amount of engagement. Why is it higher or lower than last month? What can we do to increase? Is there certain external factors that have affected it? Let's say LEC season has finished, so therefore you expected really to have less engagements and less impressions because there's less going on. But esports, especially as we're in 3 different titles now, tends to we have some match or some interaction with an esport competitive game every month usually, but there's definitely external factors that can adjust it, right? If you're announcing a new player, then obviously that month should be expected to be a little bit higher than if you weren't announcing a new player 1 month. Event and game coverage, again, it's the same as kind of popular in social channels, but you're expected to, whether that's a live event, obviously we haven't been doing that for the last year and a half really because of COVID, but back in the day, we used to attend events and cover them from a laptop and, get photos and work with the team directly. I used to do it at Esports Insider. The photographer would plug it straight into my laptop, would drag the photos and would create the content live and push it out minutes after it happened, and keep kind of the audience entertained on socials if they're not attending the event. Obviously, right now, especially for the last year and a half, game coverage online remote has been the main thing. So there's not been doing it from a studio. You're just getting Twitch clips. And post them on Twitter, but it's super important, and we'll touch upon it next slide. But when it comes to hours and when them games are, that's when it becomes that's when social media manager tends to do a little bit more hours than most. So creating a tone of voice and brand guidelines, this is something that you may not be expected to do as like a junior social media manager, but definitely as a senior, you're expected to kind of jump in and help a little bit with, okay, how are we going to talk as Excel? Are we going to talk as a global brand, or are we going to talk as kind of a British home brand that is open to everyone and open to everyone supporting us? It's really just creating these do's and don'ts and kind of sticking to them and creating a little bit more consistency with what our audience can expect at the end of the day from our posts. And then brand guidelines is really kind of the same thing, but a little bit more of, okay, this is how our brand is positioned within the esports industry, and this is how we're going to talk to our fans. And then this is something I guess expected from a lot of people in certain esports roles, but helping with wider content ideation. I'm quite lucky and fortunate at Excel that I actually do have a voice when it comes to content, and head of departments, especially when it comes to content, listen to a lot of the Excel members, and we get a really good voice in terms of what we want to do for announcements. So let's say for like we're doing an upcoming announcement, I don't know, in 3 weeks, let's say, for example, just to throw it out there, we kind of hop on a call, talk about ideas, how can we approach it, what's the budget, and what is quite fortunate is they really do listen to us. Even though my job is social media, I definitely get an input into what kind of we do and and I guess my input more comes from what the fans would enjoy and what they would react to best. So it may change and differ in different organizations and different roles, but I'm quite fortunate at Excel that I actually do have a little bit of a voice and a bit more of a decision and kind of help out with what I want to see to help the brand at the end of the day. So that's kind of a really brief overview in the dev social media manager. There's sometimes, look, social media managers will have more to add to that list. Some social medias will have less. That doesn't mean they do more or less work. It's just kind of spread out equally over the different responsibilities. But that's a little bit more information into what kind of I do at Excel and kind of my personal example, I guess. Over the next few slides are just a couple of examples of some tweets that I've done over the few months that have been quite fun and picked up well on social. So to give context here, this was a quote tweet of K Corp. We played in the E-Masters finals. They went on to win it, and they actually got a message from the president of France, basically saying like, congrats K Corp, like we're super proud of you, blah blah blah. And obviously because we came second, we didn't get any message from Boris Johnson. So what I had done is created like a mock, obviously fake message from Boris Johnson, saying kind of in a really weird gamer tone of voice that people found really went down really well on socials. As you can see on the right, 1.4 million impressions, 228,000 engagements, and then a 16.2% engagement rate. So that was a fun tweet. It went down well with the fans, and it's just a good example, I guess, of reactivity. But also having fun. Even though we came second, we can still have fun with it. We can still generate content and have banter with the opposing team. Secondly was a bit more of a I guess a bit more of a banter post, if you want to call it that. So you can only see this screenshot, but the whole video is basically, to give a bit more context, G2 had recently picked up Lecce, which is friends with Wolfies, our Fortnite pro player. Wolfies is British, Lecce is German. And they're really good friends. We have obviously like a rivalry with G2 in the LEC, so it felt pretty good, and it felt like the right time to have a little bit of fun from the Fortnite side of things with G2. So to give a little context, G2 announced Lecce in a really kind of funny, humorous video where he kind of came out and said, "Look, I'm the effing best, like I'm the best player going," like all this, big himself up, right? So what we did for the first part of the video was clipped him saying that, and then the next clip was a screenshot of him placing like 300th in a tournament or something like that. Obviously not anywhere near the money, not a good placing at all, but it was only to have fun with Lecce. Wolfies loved it. He retweeted it. The Fortnite community loved it. Lecce commented, G2 commented, and engaged with it. And as you can see on the right, it did pretty well in terms of numbers. But it was just kind of a fun example of, look, it fit with our tone of voice, the kind of British banter theme. We can kind of have a little. We can continue the rivalry with G2 outside of League of Legends and outside of the LEC, especially because they just entered Fortnite. It's pretty recent. Lecce was a good friend of Wolfies, so it felt like a good position to do the post. And then the last example was just something I found, which was one of our most top performing posts in October, was just a kind of a reactive meme when it came to I can't actually remember the context of it. I think it was, I want to say Worlds. And LCK were playing pretty bad. I'm not too sure, but LS, one of the popular League of Legends personality, shared it because we were engaging in his stream as well. But it's another example of a reactive post. Like if I wasn't on Twitch or wasn't on Twitter at that certain time, and this post wouldn't have gone out, we wouldn't even have been a thought, and therefore wouldn't have got the numbers right. So reactivity is quite a big thing. Lastly, I guess lessons learned from my last year and a half nearly at Excel. It's been interesting. I've definitely learned a lot, but I think the first thing which hasn't changed my mind, especially since joining Excel, is the fans come first, nothing else. Some, I guess, brands like to think or speak as the brand comes first, and we have to build a legacy brand first. I actually think it's the other way around. We need to serve the fans. I mean, if you go back to why marketing's a thing, anyways, it's to give what the customers want. It's your purpose is to give them what they're looking for. I think that's just got lost down some kind of path, and people have forgot that some way. But I think I share the sentiment with a lot of social media managers in the space, is that the fans come first. We're here to entertain you guys. We're here to entertain our supporters at the end of the day, and keep you guys entertained and have fun with rivalries and teams, and just make it a fun experience for you to kind of escape the real world, and come onto Twitter or come into a Twitch chat and have fun with us and have fun with the esports organization, kind of interact with us directly. And that's something that I think will never change if I'm a social media manager of any esports organization. Creating a loyal fan base is hard. It's really, really hard, but it's super satisfying. It definitely takes over a long period of time, but the satisfaction of, like, it's really hard to explain visually how you see it, but it's like a feeling. You can feel fans start to appreciate the content a little bit more, interact a little bit more. Obviously the most obvious is just saying nice comments about like the post, but it's more just saying nice comments about Excel as well, because they're saying nice things about the brand that you're speaking to them about. So it's definitely very, very difficult, and I don't think there's any right or wrong way to create a loyal fan base. I think there's many different routes you can take, but over the past few months, it's been really interesting to come at a different angle, especially as I was kind of the new social media manager. It was kind of my all up to me to kind of do what I want, really. So I had a lot of fun kind of creating and seeing how I can engage with the fans and seeing how I can get them on board with Excel. Because sometimes, like, if you're not the winning team, and if we're not winning everything, then it's difficult sometimes to gather fans and kind of rally them behind you. But we found like a good midpoint, I think, at Excel. Burnout is real. So this is a little bit more of like a serious topic, I think. But social media, it's kind of one of the only roles in the space. There's definitely other roles, so don't get me wrong on that. But one of the only roles that you're constant working. And unfortunately, as I'm the only social media manager, like if I take a week off, then who's going to do the social post? Yes, I can schedule some stuff, but that week is going to be super low on impressions, super low on engagements, and that's going to be added stress on me when I come back from my holiday to go, okay, now I have to catch up and do work even overtime. So like if you have a larger social media team, I just recommend take breaks often as you can, to be honest, because the thing is with social media, especially if your hobby is gaming and esports and you like playing games anyway, or you spend a lot of time on social media outside of your job, then it's really difficult to just escape your work. You don't find a kind of break point of, okay, I'm not sitting on social media, or I'm not playing games, or I'm not thinking about Excel or my workplace, or thinking of a good post. It becomes a little bit of an addiction, to be honest, especially when some social media managers, and I think everyone goes through the stage, get a bit hungry with engagements and are hungry with like the numbers, and it can sometimes cloud judgment. Like it's definitely clouded my judgment with certain posts that I've had to delete real quick. But I think you just really need to take time away often, and come back with kind of a fresh mindset. It's surprisingly weird how taking a break is like how impactful it is, but I can't recommend it enough, because just taking that time away really clears your vision and gives you a lot of better ideas anyways. But I really recommend just taking breaks often, especially if you work in the social media world, because look, some roles will find it really some other roles outside of the social media will find it easy to clock off at 6 o'clock or 5 p.m. whenever they're finished, and come back at 9 a.m. the next day and not even think about work in the evening. Social media, unfortunately, especially if the games are in the evening, most of the time, it's really difficult to clock out. So take breaks often. Burnout is super real, especially in social media management. But just make sure you do it often, so you keep that passion burning, really. And I guess I touched upon it a little bit then, but the working hours are interesting, to put it at least. You're not working 9 to 5 most of the time. You're definitely working evenings a lot of the time, because that's when games are. You can be sometimes working Sundays, championship Sundays. You can sometimes be working it up into midnight, but that's quite rare. But you're expected to be working a lot of the time, and this is quite it's difficult sometimes, because like if the LEC season is Saturday, Sunday, on a regular basis, then you can't really book off your Saturday, Sundays, because you're expected to be there to cover the games. Obviously, if you've got a larger social team, then you can do it on rotation and take breaks. But right now, it's difficult for me to really go, okay, I want to book something. My mom comes to me and goes, can you book this date off in 3 weeks? It's really difficult for me to say, because let's say if the Valorant team qualifies, then they might be playing on that day. If they don't qualify, then I can go do whatever I want. But you don't know until the point of qualification, which is usually only a couple of days before. So yeah, the working hours are fun. You just need to be really willing. That's why I say a lot, you really need to love this job. You really need to love doing social media and esports, because there's a lot of flaws to it and there's a lot of cons to it. However, it is like I put at the end, I think I've got one of the best jobs in the world, because I get to communicate with the best people, the most important people in the industry, which are the fans. And there's no real better feeling than that. Look, they can be difficult sometimes, but that's fans, right? They're voicing because they're passionate about the brand and they want the best for the brand most of the time. And yes, there are occasions where they say nasty things, but I tend to forgive and forget, because at the end of the day, all they want is that, look, they're just expressing their passion for the brand. They're disappointed in maybe the decision we've made or something that we've done, and they don't know how else to express that. But going back to the other 2 points above, you never stop learning, especially in a role that I thought coming into Excel in March 2020, that I thought I knew a lot about social media management. I didn't at all, compared to what things I learned. And these are things that I learned maybe on the job, especially dealing with the Twitter client in a little bit more detail, and kind of learning what you can do with that. Also having interactions with kind of the people over at Twitter who look after all these sports brands, and kind of the processes behind there, if we need players verified, if we need an app change and stuff like that. that. So there's you're forever learning, which for most people is super interesting, and people like to learn a lot more on the job, take a lot more skills with them, regardless what the job role is. But yeah, it's something that I found in the last year and a half. I've never stopped learning, which is interesting for me. I kind of like picking up new stuff and stuff like that. The last one is just understanding the brand center voice. This is something that's just consistent. It comes with time, understanding that, look, it's not your personal account. Don't speak like it's your personal account. You're speaking as a brand at the end of the day. There's definitely times where you'll see social media an esports organization have like 5+ social media managers, and you'll kind of know or have a feeling who's on the account at what time. But I think that's quite fun. I think I like the idea of different personalities and slightly different approaches, but at the end of the day, you are speaking as the same brand, and that's something to keep in note. But yeah, I mean, that's really just the end of the presentation. I want to thank you guys for listening to me waffle a little bit. I know we're going to go hop in a Google Hangouts and kind of open up to any questions, but no, I appreciate listening to me.
Thanks so much, Nathan. That was really interesting. Yeah, we're not doing a Q&A on Twitch today, but if anyone in the chat wants to ask Nathan a question, they can go over to his Twitter, which is Radiant_Nova with a capital V. Actually, capitals don't really matter, but it's a double A at the end. And yeah, feel free. Do you want to plug anything, Nathan?
No need. Like if you want to reach out to me or ask me any questions about social media, please do reach out. I'm always willing to usually don't respond via DMs. I just say, let's hop on a call for 5 minutes and let's just talk, because it's way easier to get things across. But yeah, please do reach out if you've got any questions about social media or getting a job in esports or whatever it is. Please do reach out.
Great, thanks so much. Yeah, and thanks everyone for watching. You can tune into the other FutureGen broadcasts we'll be doing, which, follow our channel. You can find us on social media at NSC_GG on pretty much everything. And yeah, thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, guys.